Hey guys, what's happening? It's Jesse coming to you with a little pump today. Upper trunk pump, Thursday afternoon. Let's start here with some big arm swings. Crisscross the arms, palms up, opening up the shoulders, opening up the post cuff. I hope that you guys have all hydrated today and that you have fueled. Let's go big arm circles forward, releasing all the synovial fluid that we need. It's like our body's WD-40 and gets everything lubricated. Let's go backward arm circles here. Hydrated and fueled today, and that you are ready for a good sweat session. We'll go ahead and take the right arm across the body and hug it close to the chest, pulling through that post shoulder, opening up all the muscle fibers in that rear cuff or the rear deltoid, the back of the shoulder. And let's go ahead and take that right arm up overhead and take it behind the elbow, behind the head, opening up your tricep, lat, again, rear delt. And let's go ahead and transition, switch arms, bring the left arm cross chest, hugging the arm close into the chest, opening up that left posterior cuff. And let's go ahead and take that left hand up overhead, left elbow behind the head, pulling down behind the head, opening up the tricep and lat, getting the muscles open enough to activate, but not elongating them beyond function and use. So in our first, as we go from our arm circles, let's come on down to a quadruped. We continue to warm up the wrists. We get the large joints warm. We continue to work through the small joints. Small tiny circles over the wrist as we stack shoulder on top of elbow on top of wrist. Hands out to a lateral position. Find wherever you may find tension, you can go ahead and lean into that and knead through it as you need to. Let's go ahead and reposition our hands, palms flat, fingers facing away from the body. Again, just a few circles around the wrists, joints all stacked on top of one another. And bringing our wrists into flexion, knuckles to the floor, drawing knuckles toward one another and working to extend and eliminate any bend from the elbows, pushing all of our tension in flexion of the wrist and through the shoulders. The straighter you can get your elbows, the more value to the stretch. And small tiny circles around the flexion of the wrists. Let's come into a plank position. Continuing those small tiny circles. Let's go ahead and open up the hips a little bit here, taking our left foot outside of our left hand, drawing small tiny circles around the wrists and around the hips, and opposite direction with our circles. In today's workout, we have 5 couplets of Tabata. If you were with us last week, let's go ahead and return that left leg and kick your right leg out just outside of the right hand. Small tiny circles around the right wrist and the right hand and the right hip. If you were with us last week, we went through a Tabata series, and it was also a Tabata couplet. And what does that mean? The definition of Tabata is 8 rounds of 20 seconds of work and 10 seconds of rest. So that's 2 parts of work by 1 part rest. We work to give 90% plus energy output, so we're not looking to sandbag any of our repetitions. Work to get as many repetitions as possible in each 20-second interim. In our first series today, we have a walkout push-up, and our second portion of our first series, we'll do a plank hold. So in demonstration and going through this tonight, starting things out, I'll start with a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. I'm gonna hinge in the hips, walk my hands to the top of the push-up and drop down chest to floor, walking myself back to the bottom of my squat, standing tall. That would be one walkout push-up. Going through this for 20 seconds in duration, as many as possible. That's 2 for me in this first series. We have 10 seconds of rest in transition from this into our next movement pattern will be a plank hold. So going into a traditional plank hold, I'm gonna stack shoulder on top of elbow, on top of wrist, keeping my hips low and level in line with my shoulders so that my bottom's not high and my hips aren't low to the flow, but I'm keeping tension loaded through the core, and I hold this for 20 seconds and I rest. That's gonna be our first segmented series. So we go through this Tabata couplet, 4 rounds of these 2 patterns. We go 3, 2, 1, and we go back into a walkout push-up. This being our second series with 2 patterns coupled, we're going through 4 rounds instead of 8 rounds in one movement. This series I did a little better than last, and I got 3 walkout push-ups. So do your best to challenge yourself to do a little bit more, or at least the same amount each series. And we come back for that plank hold. Okay, you can go from a straight arm plank, a bent arm plank would also be acceptable. Plank from the elbow would be acceptable. We hold any which plank for 20 seconds. And then we rest at the 50-second mark. We have 10 seconds of rest to come back for round 3. Once we finish a Tabata, you'll have 1 minute to transition from one Tabata couplet to the next. So we just finished 2 rounds in the first, and you'll go ahead and finish the next few either with me on the call tonight or by yourself in transition at another time. So we take a minute and going through our next pieces at home. If you've got dumbbells, if you've got a barbell, if you've got bands, I'm a big fan of bands. There's a lot of versatility to them, is why I like them a great deal. But tonight, I'll use soup cans. Just being at home, I think these are also something that we all typically will have in our pantry. So it's something that I can encourage most people that they will have at home equipment already. In any case, so breaking into our next Tabata, we go into a bent rear delt row. What I'm looking to do is incorporate core and low body musculature while I'm drawing my thumbs up. I'm drawing from the rear of the shoulders, keeping my elbows extended, drawing tension through the back of the shoulders, palms and thumbs high to the sky. As I go through this, my vision's gonna be down toward the floor. I go through this for 20 seconds, and I have 10 seconds of rest before I go into my second pattern. That's my first piece in our second couplet. Our next piece is a split stance, upright row. So from here, finding myself in a split stance and drawing dumbbells, soup cans, or bands high to the sky, working to keep minimized flexion of the wrist. I go through 20 seconds of work. I'm thinking about scarecrow. That's how I cue some of my clients or kids when I'm coaching them. Drawing elbows high to the sky, keeping that row to the front of the shoulder through the draw. 3, 2, 1. We've gone through 1 round in our second series. 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest. The rest goes by quite quickly, and we move right back into our next first piece, rather the first piece in our second series. So we're at a bent rear delt row. I find that we have so much anterior active daily living. Getting posterior chain activity is paramount just for overall health. It's also a great shaper for the shoulders. 3, 2, 1, rest. And I kind of went through the break on that one. So I move right into my split stance row, and I draw elbows high to the sky. If I started with my left leg forward on my last one, I'll start with my right leg forward on this series. Remember, each couplet series is gonna have 4 rounds total. So 4 rounds of each pattern, or 8 20-second bursts. 3, 2, 1, rest. So that gets us through our second couplet. We've gone through our first couplet, we've gone through our second couplet. Our third couplet tonight is going to be a strict press. So again, if we've got soup cans, if we've got bands, if we've got a barbell, or if we've got dumbbells, the pattern this evening, drawing raw strength, we're looking to keep no momentum or no movement from the lower body, taking the hands just from outside of the shoulders, pushing the hands high to the sky, knuckles to the sky, stacking the joints, wrists on top of elbow, on top of shoulder, back to our starting position. Okay, so my first point will be a strict or a military press. This is a shoulder to overhead pattern and a functional lift. Okay, so we'll start this in 3, 2, 1, and we go strict press. If you've got a barbell, you're working on keeping clean bar pathway. If you're using dumbbells, still keeping the same imagery or thought process, keeping tight tummy, tight bottom, tight back as you press overhead. That's our first pattern. Our next piece and our third couplet tonight is going to be tricep dips. So elevating up into a low bridge, I'm going to draw my elbows from behind and then back to a full extension. So bending into a flexion and pushing my body up from the arms. You should feel this in the back of the arms. The tricep is our main focal point. Maybe you feel this a little bit in the shoulders. I don't want any inappropriate tension in the shoulders, so if it starts to cause irritation, aggravation, we can always find a substitution for this. We go through 20 seconds of dips, and then we transition back to our strict press. Okay, so again, our rest and recovery flies by quite quickly. A few breaths, and we transition right back to our strict press. Feet are in a jumping stance right below our shoulders. I'm pushing my hands high to the sky, knuckles up, releasing any tension from the wrist as I'm weight loaded, tight tummy, tight bottom, tight back. As I press anything overhead, protecting spinal load. 3, 2, and 1. We finish our second round in that first piece, moving back into a tricep dip. I'm going to draw into a low glute bridge, drawing my elbows behind the body into a full extension. I've got 20 seconds here. You see that I just went from my strict press and sat down into the bridge. By the time I got set and ready, it was time to go, right? So creasing the elbows, or flexing the elbows, drawing them into a full extension, contracting that back arm muscle, your triceps. Work to put 3, 2, 1. So we've gone through now 3 out of our 4 Tabata couplets. Okay, so we're pushing. We finished 2 rounds in that third piece. Our next piece, you can use a dumbbell, you could use a barbell in the first piece would not be recommended. A soup can. What I'm going to encourage is a band this evening, and we'll go into what will be a lateral lunge. As I get set here, we'll go into a lateral lunge to row, lateral lunge to row, lateral lunge. We've got 20 seconds of these. This is the first piece. First piece to the pattern. Our next piece, and if you don't have a band at home, I encourage that you find a set of these on Amazon. If you follow me on Instagram, you can check out my link tree. I've got a couple of connections on these, but there's all different brands. Basically, wrapping the band around the feet here, we go into a sit up, drawing into a row, drawing the elbows beyond the body line and back 2. Sit up, elevated feet, drawing the elbows beyond the body line, contracting through the wings or the lats, back down to a sit up, row, sit up, row, sit up, row. We've got 20 seconds of these. So tonight, if you don't have a band, you can go ahead and move through the patterns as if you did. Would still be effective in learning the pattern and form of these pieces, okay? Or you can utilize whatever band you have at home. So our first piece, a lateral lunge, is gonna be right foot, left arm as I step out and draw in, back to my start point. Draw out into your lateral lunge, row, back up to a single leg, lateral lunge, row, back up to a single leg. As many reps as we can in 20 seconds. Our next piece, we go down to a sit up to row. So again, drawing this around my mid foot of my toe and foot. Heels are elevated. I drop the upper trunk down in my sit up, row, squeezing through the wings. We have 20 seconds of work. 10 seconds of rest. Round 1 done. Wasn't that fun? And I just worked us right through our rest period. You went right foot first round, you're gonna go left foot second round. I'm gonna step out and row, step out, row. And we transition back into our sit up to row. 3, 2, 1, and go. Keeping the feet elevated, whoo! Working through that sit up, pulling the elbows beyond the body, squeezing through the wings. Work for every rep. If that's a little bit too much of a challenge, you can always drop the feet to the floor. That's always acceptable. Small variation in the pattern. We have our sit up to row. We've got 2 rounds done in our last couplet of the day. I appreciate you all coming to play. And tonight, we will go through each round 4 times. If you're doing this on your own, different ways to vary it. You could run each movement for 8 rounds. That would be a traditional or a standard Tabata. Tonight we kind of made a little mix match, or again, couplets is what I will define them as. I hope that you all enjoy tonight. I hope that you all get as much out of the workout as you invest in yourselves. Thank you.